The fish might be cooked in Miami, Will. Let's talk about it, bud. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 77 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pyatt. With me, as always, the forward-seeing basketball of co-host Will Sism. Buddy, midweek record, how are you feeling?
Feeling good, man. It's springtime, which means a little bit of allergies, so I'm feeling that a little bit. But, man, it's all good. Baseball's in full gear. It's going to be a great episode. Looking forward to it. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you, man. Listen, hey, this episode, it's brought to us by Clairton, okay? Live Clairton clear. Just kidding, but seriously, if anybody knows anybody, we'll take the plug, okay?
Yes.
Hey, we got some fun stuff to talk about. We're going to look at some standings and then dust off the panic meter for these teams, which I think we're really excited about. Will had that idea this weekend. I was like, son of a gun, that is a great idea. We'll look at our heat check and had a bad day players of the week. Then we head to the grill, some pretty interesting stuff. Maybe a little bit less of a downer than last week, which is fun. We dust off who's on fire on the wire, okay, which is going to be great. And then our trusty old ending to the show, the Roman Candle player. Pick the click player of the week, that is. Interesting week from the two guys we picked, but we'll talk about it. So, jam-packed episode, Will. Let's get into it, my brother. Let's look at the AL East. Here we go. We got the New York Yankees, man, coming in at 13-6. Baltimore half game back at 12-6. Tampa Bay 11-9, coming together here in the early season. Here you got the Blue Jays 10-9, and the Red Sox back where we all thought they'd be 10-10. Okay, what about a 3-7 home stand for the Sox? That's tough. In the Central, we have the Guardians 13-6. A game back of them, the Kansas City Royals, Detroit Tigers at 10-9. At 3 games back, you got Minnesota Twins 6-11. What's going on? And then the White Sox 3-15. And then lastly in the West, very interesting here, you got the Rangers at 11-9, looking pretty solid. The LA Angels 9-10, Seattle 9-10, Oakland 8-11, and Houston 6-14. So, hey, if you're listening along, you probably know where we're going with our panic meter teams. I got 3 teams, none in the East. I decided to leave the East out because, to be honest, if you got 5 teams and everybody's 500 or above, I don't think we're panicking. That's pretty awesome. Well, let's look in the Central here, man, at my pick for the division crown. The Twins, dude, 1-10. How worried are you?
Oh man, if it was not for that, if it was not for Pablo Lopez manning the number 1 post of that rotation, I'd be like at a 9 or 10. But since Pablo Lopez is still healthy, I think they've got a chance with that, the rest of the rotation and the bullpen. And problem is that lineup, man. I mean, not that Correa actually got off to a good start, but he's hurt again already. Mm-hmm. And that lineup just feels like it just struggles to score runs, man.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go, just because Pablo Lopez, I love what he offers as a number 1 starter. I'm gonna say a 7 on the panic meter. I did not anticipate the Guardians to come out of the gates this well. The Guardians have actually looked really good. Maybe the new manager is kind of clicking, getting the right pieces in place and whatnot. So I like what I've seen out of them. I really like what I've seen out of Kansas City so far. We can say it's early, but man, we're 20 games in. So, I like what I've seen out of Kansas City. I like what I've seen out of Cleveland, and I don't like what I've seen out of Minnesota. But there's still time. So just because they're in a very winnable division still, even though we like Cleveland and Kansas City, I'm going to go with 7.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's a pretty solid call. I would like to say let's calibrate this for, hey, we're 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
So everything could totally change and be okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a 5. The bullpen losing Duran, that has not, they tried to kind of go by committee. Griffin Jacks has gotten roughed up here recently this week. But I think you hit on it, man. To be honest, this offense is just not footing the bill, man. It's you got Alex Kirilloff. He's been performing at 883 OPS, but
Yep.
he's even slowed down this week. And then Ryan Jeffords came out of nowhere. They're like a backup catcher, I guess, or split time with Christian Vasquez.
Yep.
Everybody else underperforming, man. Byron Buxton at a 528. I mean, Julian has not clicked in yet. He's 687 OPS. So
yeah,
dude, I don't know.
It's tough.
It's not looking good. I'm gonna put him at a 5 just because, like you said, I like that rotation, and I think when Duran gets back, the bullpen's pretty nice. But we talk about it over and over again. You take that top dog out, everybody has to step up a peg, and then that's kind of when chaos ensues a lot of the time. Moving on, dude. I actually have Houston next, but let's talk about Seattle, since Seattle's higher up in the standings. They're sitting at 9 and 10. Not necessarily terrible, but they're underperforming for what we thought they'd do, buddy. Where you got these guys?
Oh, man, they are definitely underperforming based on what I kind of thought this team would look like. There's still plenty of time. Nobody's running away with the division yet, which is good news for them and the team we're going to talk about next. So I'm kind of at I want to say a 4 with Seattle. I will say I'm very concerned about their lineup, man. I get Julio's struggled out of the gates, and that's their key cog. But, man, I would have loved to have seen somebody else step up, even though Julio is cold right now. And I don't like what I'm seeing out of the lineup. Yeah. Having said that, the rotation is the strength of this team. The rotation is going to keep them in just about every single game. And, I know a guy like George Kirby's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think he's going to be okay. Logan Gilbert's looked good. Bryce Miller's been great.
Yes.
So because of that rotation, I'm not panicked yet. But, man, that lineup has got to get going. They cannot waste this rotation. This rotation is so good. Yeah. Luis Castillo, I didn't mention him. He's gotten off to a slow start, but that rotation is going to be fine. And so I'm at a 4 right now, but, man, that lineup's got to start clicking.
Yep. I'm with you, man. Listen, I got him. I got half that. I got him at a 2. I'm not really worried at all. I mean, if you couple it with the team we're fixing to talk about, the other teams in this division, this might be the best team. I don't know. This lineup, I think we're seeing their worst, in my opinion, right now, because Julio is going to go. He is notoriously bad, March, April. Yeah. He'll get going. It's a great buy low window in fantasy. I actually saw in one of my leagues, I saw the wildest trade, and it's it was, I can't remember who the other player was, like Junior Caminero and another player for Julio. And, wow. The other player would be important if I could remember it, but it is, it's like a landslide of a deal. But if you look at the numbers, you strip the name away, but he will click.
Right.
A guy like Mitch Haniger's come out of the gates pretty hot. Ty France, I still think he can be more 22 than 23. We'll see what happens. I
hope so.
Me too. And so, and then everything you talked about in the rotation. So I'm not super worried about them. Let's get to the main event of the panic meter, Will. Let's talk about the Houston Astros, buddy. Where do you have this squad?
Oh, this one's tough, man, because here's the thing. It's so hard, I think, for anybody to separate what the Astros have been this past decade. Let's just call it that, into what kind of they are right now. And so if we can somehow, like in the scene in Men in Black, the movie, when they like flash the thing and it makes them forget everything, like that's what we need to do right now with the Houston Astros. So last decade doesn't matter. So when we purely look at this team right now, here's what I see. I see a lineup that struggled to get timely hits. Now, do I think that's going to continue? No, I don't. I think the lineup's going to be fine. I really do. Here's the bigger underlying issue for me that I'm seeing. And there's a couple of things. The rotation scares me to death right now. Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez are both either hurt or coming off of injuries, rehabbing. And we just honestly do not know what those guys are going to look like when they come back, which I know Verlander's scheduled to come back this week. So
Yep.
we don't know what that's going to look like. And number two, maybe the scariest part of that is there going to be a recurrence of the injury? That's perhaps the most scary thing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So the rotation's kind of in shambles without those guys. Javier's been better, but Hunter Brown's been rough.
Bad.
JP France has gotten roughed up some.
Yeah.
Thank God for Blanco. He's been great.
Yeah.
But the rotation scares me. The bullpen has been leaky, and we thought that was going to be like if anything,
Yeah.
we thought that was going to be the one thing that would hold up. And then I'm not going to get into it, but the manager, the new manager, there's some growing pains there. And, Cody, you can talk about that if you want, but
sure.
I say all that to say, because of all of these different variables, I'm at about a 6, honestly. Because here's my problem. I don't know of anybody in that rotation right now that can get out the Texas Rangers. Other than if Verlander and Valdez come back and they're 100%.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't see anybody that can keep the Rangers from scoring less than 8 runs. So, anyways, I'm at a 6. I'm not saying the sky is falling. Mm-hmm. But there's not the margin of error for this team that there has been in years past.
Yeah. Listen, we talked about this kind of at length during the week. Here, the offense, we can talk about it. I'm not worried about it. They're
I agree.
top 3 OPS team. They're actually tied with a team we're going to talk about here in a little bit. The Baltimore Orioles. So You're looking at an offense. It's a Cadillac. Now, this new manager, Espada, coming in, you don't have to worry about the offense. That's going to do its thing.
Yeah.
I got a lot of qualms with how he's running the bullpen. And I understand, dude, what you talked about in the preseason is coming to fruition. Like, he's just snapping to the 7, 8, 9 roll. And I don't know. I guess I can sit and make excuses and say, like, I don't think he's put him in the best positions to perform. Mm-hmm. But Hader with a 6.75 ERA, I mean, listen, I understand he's only blown 1 save, but you would think you can go out and pitch a scoreless inning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he came in the other day against the Braves, and granted it's the Braves, but you're Josh Hader, only down by 1. And do I love that for him? Do I love that usage? No, I'd rather come in with the lead, trust your offense, and understand that maybe tomorrow you'll need him for a save chance. Well, he gives up 4 earned runs. Now he's not available tomorrow in another tight game with the Braves. So, and that's just one example. I'm with you. I think the bullpen, it's probably what makes me most nervous. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm like 1. And I know it sounds like I'm the Houston homer here, which I guess I partially am. But, you can say, hey, we got to flash them in black light, and that's fine. And I'll do that with you all day if you want to. But I believe in this. I believe in this lineup. I believe they're going to bang. And I believe that the bullpen's not going to be as bad as they have been to start the year. So Presley's got to figure it out. It feels like it's either Presley or Hader throwing a wrench into things when they're in a situation to win games. Mm-hmm. I think this weekend's going to tell us a lot. They got a 3-game set with the Nationals. If they lose this series, not that one series is really going to sway me all that much, but I'm like, okay, all right, that's not great. But when you got Verlander, Blanco, and Javier going, I'm going to say let's go out and sweep the Nationals, and then let's see where we are. You're still in a division with the L.A. Angels and the Oakland A's. I still think All-Star break, we're talking about a 3-team race. And, of course, Texas is going to get back their horses, and this is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think this is a last-place team. I know at some point they will fall off the cliff. It happens every dynasty, But I don't think it's this year. We'll see, though. We'll see.
Let me ask you this real quick. Which lineup 1 to 9 do you want, Texas or Houston?
I mean, listen to me. It's a great call. I like 1 through 6 is pretty comparable.
That's not my question. 1 to 9.
Well, I'm just looking at, you got 1 through 6. If you can go Simeon, Seager, Carter, Garcia, Josh Smith, Langford, and then you got kind of 3 guys they interchange. And then if you go for Houston, listen, I'll take Jordan, and I'll take Bregman to bounce back. And I know what you're thinking. That's the Houston fan in me. I
I
listen.
disagree.
I got. Hey, let's see. Hey, here's what we do. I was thinking about this because we were talking about it, and you said you think Texas will win the division. I still think Houston will win. I think on air, in front of God and everybody, Pancheros bet. Okay,
Yeah.
the loser
Yeah.
buys Pancheros. Next time we all get Pancheros.
To be honest with you, I'm not so sure Seattle still doesn't win the division.
That's true. Then at that point, our wives flip a coin, and then I'm just kidding. Then our wives.
I mean, I would say right now, like with the questions surrounding Houston's rotation, that's my big thing.
Yeah.
If you told me right now that Framber's going to be back in a week, Verlander's going to come back, and they're both going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm good. Like I'm still with Houston. Like I think they're still a really good team, but I don't know that for a fact whatsoever. And so if there's any question with the health of those two guys, I think that's the key to their whole season, honestly. I'm not worried about the lineup. The bullpen's got to be better than what it has been, but the rotation has to the rotation's not going to work without those two guys, in my opinion. So that's what it all revolves around. But yeah, I would right now, given the uncertainty with those two guys, I would definitely take Texas.
Yeah. Hey, listen, here's the deal, man. Not to throw stats into everything, but Houston ranked higher in average OPS, on base percentage, and homers.
That's okay. They play in Houston with those little short Crawford boxes.
Then Texas. That's all I'm saying. Better offense statistically, and they've gone through a murderer's row. We really need to get going on other stuff. We need to move National League, but murderer's row of a schedule to start. I mean, you want to talk about Texas, and then you go Atlanta.
Well, I mean, Texas did beat the Astros head to head, like pretty good. So, I mean,
didn't they come back and get 2 out of 3? Did I imagine that Houston won a series? On the wraparound in Texas. We watched a lot of ball. Let's move on. We'll check after the show, guys, and we'll add that in there. Probably won't do that. Here we go. Moving on to the National League. Here we go, man. In the East, the Atlanta Braves 12-5, where we thought they'd be. You got the Phillies 11-8, where we thought they'd be. The Mets coming back after a 0-5 start. They are now 10-8, looking solid. Washington Nationals 8-10, and then the Marlins 4-15. We'll talk more about them later. I know. Dude, hold on to that because that's the meat of the grill. It's going to be roasting the Marlins. So buckle up, Marlins fans, because this is your conversation for the year. If you're a Marlins fan, this is as much as you're going to hear us talk about them. In the Central, we got 3 11-win teams. The Brewers are 11-6. The Cubs are 11-7. The Pirates are 11-8. And they got the Reds at 9-9. St. Louis at 9-10. And then in the West, what about this? 12-9 Dodgers. Padres are 11-10. D-backs 9-10. You got the Giants at 8-11, and then the Rockies 4-15. That's a nice ballpark, though. Hey, let's move to the panic meter. So I just threw that in there. Let's look at the Central real quick, man, because we're going to talk about Miami. So we'll just chop them off the top. St. Louis Cardinals. Are we worried about them right now?
Slightly. But let's keep in mind that Sonny Gray started the year on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
He's looked really good in his first 2 starts back.
Mm-hmm.
Do I still have major concerns in that rotation behind him? Yes. Do I still have major concerns about the bullpen? Yes. Do I have concerns about their aging lineup? Yes.
Yeah.
So because of all that, I'm kind of at a 5.5, 6 on the panic meter.
Yeah.
And the Pirates are better.
Yeah.
The Cubs are better. I think the Reds are going to screw this up somehow. But I also think the Brewers are a lot better than I thought they were going to be.
We all slept on the reigning defending division champs.
I will be the first to admit that I did. They've looked way better than I thought they would without those 2 horses in the rotation. Having said that, I think the Cardinals still have a good chance just because it feels like this is still doable.
Sure.
But let's face it, this team is very flawed. And the division's better. So I'm going to go at about a 5.5 to a 6.
Yeah. Listen, I like everything you said. I'm going to call it a 7. I don't trust Marmol. I don't trust the pitching staff. I love that Sonny Gray has come back and looked pretty
Yes.
solid in 2 starts because I drafted him late in so many leagues. So that's panning out pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm.
There are some bright spots, man. Wilson Contreras is having a great start to his season,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some not bright spots. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them we're going to talk about later. He's going to be my So You Had a Bad Day player because I don't know what to do with this guy. Moving on, man. We go to the West for 2 teams, question mark. You guys are all like, what 2 teams are going to talk about? How about our San Francisco Giants, man? Made those big moves for some pitching in the offseason. Brought in Blake Snell kind of late. He has looked less than good. Scale of 1 to 10, what are we doing?
You talking about the Giants or Snell specifically?
That's a great question. How about the Giants? Let's do both.
Yeah, let's do both real quick. So I would say Snell. Keep in mind, Snell signed so late. These first couple of starts are basically like spring training starts for him. So I'm not overly concerned about Blake Snell. I think this is definitely a good buy low window if you're talking fantasy right now. Give him about 2 to 3 more starts, and I think he's going to be okay. Now, do I think he's going to do what he did last year? No, I don't. Don't necessarily expect that. But do I think he's going to be very good? Yes, I do. As far as the Giants go, man, I don't really know what to make of this team. I love the culture that they seemingly always have. I feel like they always figure out a way to win more games than they should on paper.
Yeah.
I have to believe that there's no reason for that to continue, but this division, man, looks really good to me. I mean, the Dodgers aren't quite, I don't think the record at least is quite what we expected it to be at this point, but obviously we know how talented the Dodgers are. The Padres somehow look like they're at least playing harder this year. And
it's
so
wild.
It is. And so I have to believe that the Padres are going to be a little bit better this year, despite their losses of Snell and Soto.
Hater.
And Hater. Yes, thank you for that. The Rockies, don't worry about the Rockies. But the Diamondbacks are going to be the Diamondbacks. You know, they're going to be a feisty team. The reigning NL champs. The Diamondbacks have a good team too. And so I'm saying all this to say I'm about at let's just say a 4.5 for the Giants, just because the division's just brutal. I think the Giants are going to play good baseball, much better baseball than they have, but I just don't know how much it's going to translate as far as the pecking order to this division.
Yeah, I like everything you said. I'll probably say like a 4. You know, I think you said 4.5. Nothing wrong with that number. I'm with you. Blake Snell's gonna get better, tighten it up a little bit. Jordan Hicks has been pretty spectacular. Good. So, I mean, before our eyes with Webb, Snell, and Hicks, they got a pretty tight top 3 there if they can all piece it together. And then
Robbie Ray.
Yeah, Robbie Ray coming back. Kyle Harrison hasn't looked terrible to start the year. I'm with you. Sometimes you look at the lineup from 1 through 9 and you're like, where are the runs going to come from?
Yeah.
But if you can get any runs, you know, you get the Rogers brothers in the back of that bullpen, and then, of course, Camilo Duvall. So there's obviously a lane there. But, yeah, the division is tough. Moving on to I guess I say this a little tongue-in-cheek, but listen, the team in first in this division is 12-9. They are the Los Angeles Dodgers. They spent over $1 billion. Over $1.1 billion in the offseason. And I don't know. I just thought by now they'd be like 21-0. Will, are we worried about them at all?
You know, I love the question. I think this is just all relative to, you know, everybody's expectation. I mean, they're first place in the division. But here's the thing. I think we even said this in the preview. Like, this team is not without flaws, or at least there's plenty of potential for things to go wrong, I guess is the way to say this. You know, Yamamoto struggled out of the gates a few starts. He's looked better lately, but he struggled out of the gate. Man, I don't know. Like the bullpen feels weird to me. I really like Evan Phillips at the back end of it, but the Joe Kelly, it's like flip a coin. I don't have a
Sure.
clue what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
You know, I like Daniel Hudson. I think he's a solid piece. But, man, until you get to Daniel Hudson and Phillips at the back end of that road of the bullpen,
Yeah.
it feels very shaky to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the starters don't feel like they're going to go out and give you 7 innings consistently. So
Yeah,
it
that's true.
feels like you're going to have to really use and lean on that bullpen maybe more than, I don't know, maybe the average person anticipated. And I think that's the weak link of this team.
Yeah.
Having said that, Freddie Freeman's not off to a great start by his standards.
Mm-mm.
And the back end of that lineup, I'm not going to say the back end of that lineup is bad.
Yeah.
But it's going to be super streaky. You've actually gotten good Teoscar Hernandez so far.
Oh, my gosh.
And, dude, he's as streaky as it comes. So, I mean, when you're looking at guys like Muncy, Teoscar, James Outman, who am I missing? Kike Hernandez, whoever they put in kind of that utility role.
Yeah.
That back end of the lineup's got some holes in it. And so I'm not panicked about the Dodgers. I'm going to say like a 1.5. But I don't think this team's winning 115 games like a lot of people were, throwing that out there.
Yeah. Listen, it's almost like Dave Roberts gets a little cute with it too. Like he'll do these bullpen days and in an effort to keep guys healthy, and they just haven't looked good. It's tough to string together a bullpen, and then you have your starter go out the next day and not perform.
Right.
Listen, you got. I don't know. I'm not saying I think they're going to win the division. It's probably going to be handily, but
yeah,
I don't know. Something about it just feels off to me. I love 1 through 5. I do, or 1 through 4 at least, with the MVP 3 and then Will Smith.
Yeah,
it's absolutely unbelievable. But yeah. You're right, dude. There are some outs at the back half of that lineup. Chris Taylor's been real bad. And, I don't know. We'll see.
I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
Like, I get we're only 20 games in. But right now, if you said pick a team in the NL, either the Braves, Phillies, or Dodgers, I would absolutely pick Braves, Phillies before I would pick Dodgers if it was the postseason right now.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad call. Hey, let's see what our main man Bobby Miller can give us, and then Walker Buehler when he comes back as well. But yeah, for right now, dude, it's looking pretty tough. Hey, let's move on though, man, because we got a lot of stuff to cover.
Ooh.
Let's talk about some people who have not been shaky. These guys had red hot weeks, and I want to hear about them. It's time for the Heat Check Player of the Week. Will, who you got, buddy?
I'm going to Baltimore. And my man Gunnar Henderson, man, he has been on a heater these past few games. We've got a current streak of three games with a home run in it. In the last 7 games, he's had 4 multi-hit games and a total of 4 home runs. Man, we were texting about him the other day, Cody, and he just, to me, he looks like a guy who's got top 5, top 10 overall player in the major leagues written all over him to me. He just looks like the total package to me. He's got power, speed, fields his position really well. He just, to me, looks like superstar in the making.
Yeah. Hey, it's a great call, dude. Yeah, he's had a heck of a week. I've been in a place where I've been able to watch a lot of Baltimore games. I try and text you before I know it'll come through. And I'm like, oh, Gunnar got it again. And then by the 3rd home run, I was just like, Gunnar. He's just a stud, dude. Yeah, it's going to be the return of the era of the shortstop between him and Bobby Witt in the first 6 picks. Could get pretty gnarly because I think this guy, and I texted you this, he can win MVP, man. That swing is so nice.
Yep.
It's so nice. That is so funny, dude, that you said Gunnar Henderson, because I got a guy also in Baltimore who went off this week. What about Jordan Westburg, man? Last 7 games, 12 for 26 with 3 doubles, 3 home runs, and 9 RBIs. He also stole 2 bags. It's a 1.456 OPS. He's got second base, third base eligibility on YouTube, or on Yahoo YouTube. And he's rostered to 75%, so there's still a quarter chance that you can go out there and pick him up. Probably not in 12 teams or above, but maybe 10,
Yeah.
or below, go. I would take a chance on this guy
Mm-hmm.
because he's looking pretty nice, and you don't even know who he is because he's just like number 5 on the list of Baltimore
Uh-huh.
offensive threats that is just going off. Um, Honorable mention because I got to shout out maybe my favorite baseball player, Mookie Betts, on a 5-for-5 night. Helped to propel the Dodgers to a win over the Nationals. I know what you're thinking. It's the Nationals, but the next night they got shut out 2-0
Yeah.
by the Nationals. So, hey, man, talk about your MVP frontrunner at 388 average, 6 homers, 18 RBIs, and 3 steals from the Mook Juice himself. Anything on these two guys?
Man, I love it. I'm going to actually give an honorable mention to Michael King the other day, pitcher for the Padres.
Oh,
Struck out
yeah.
10, had a no-hitter going for a while. Ended up giving up, I think it was 2 hits, struck out 10 over 7 innings. And guess what? He got the loss.
Dude,
But
that's tough.
yeah, it is tough. But great outing by him. That was against the Brewers. Real quick, I just want to say, I get we're 3 weeks in, but it feels like right now that there's a legit top 4 overall players right now in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like, in no particular order, Ronald Acuna, Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, and who am I missing?
Ozuna.
Dude, Ozuna has been amazing. Did I say Bobby Witt?
You didn't say Bobby Witt.
I didn't say Bobby Witt. Those 4 guys, Betts, Witt, Acuna, Soto, to me, feel like, again, 3 weeks in, feels like those are the 4 best players in the game right now.
Dude, we could have a whole show about this because
but I was just thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, Ohtani, but I think if you stacked up the numbers. It's like, but where do you put them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who are you kicking out of that top 4 right now?
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Dude, we could do this like All-Star break or something. Be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Like a rankings risers or fallers, something cool like that. Hey, they had good days, but sometimes because you had a bad day, you take one down. Hey, this is man, you want to talk about a guy who took down if you started him? I mean, you might as well just deleted the app for the week because I think it was pretty early in the week. And Hunter Brown, I hate to say you guys' name, but it was so bad. Will, tell me about this start, dude.
Man, I couldn't let this one slide. So Hunter Brown, I think this was last Thursday or Friday against the Royals. He lasted 2/3 of an inning, so he did not get through 1 inning. Got 2 outs. He gave up. God, he gave up 11 hits, 1 walk, 9 earned runs, and only got 2 outs. Like
against
that,
the Braves? Question mark.
It was against the Royals. Now, let me give him a little bit of credit. He went out there this past couple of days ago against the Braves, who we think is probably the best offense in the game. Gave up a couple of runs, but he looked much better, right?
Yeah.
So I will give him credit for that. But so you ready for this? So for his season, I think this is 4 starts in. He's got a 10.5 ERA and a 2.78 WHIP. Not great. So here's hoping that we see a little bit of improvement out of old Hunter.
Yeah. Listen, this isn't bragging. I watched his entire Royal start because it wasn't that long. It was the top of the first, or bottom of the first, rather. I don't wonder, dude, when they're on a guy like that, I don't wonder if it's some kind of pitch tipping. I mean, seriously, it was wild. It was wild to watch. And he's like, oh, he's going to get an out here. Like, you would think you hit a ball, one of them's going to fall into an outfielder's glove. But no, I mean, this is, who owes this guy like a nice bottle of scotch is Vinny Pasquantino, because Hunter Brown helped kickstart Vinny P's season.
Yes.
He's been on a heater ever since this start. And dude, pretty tough. That's had a bad day because just in the sense of this segment, terrible day. It's so bad. Maybe the worst start of the year. I don't know. My guy, Paul Goldschmidt, man, off to an abysmal start. We always say this about this guy going into this is
Yeah.
his season of 37-year-old age. I said that the most smooth way I think we could all agree. We always say this is a guy until he shows us he can't. We believe that he can.
Right.
He might be showing us that he can't. I don't know. It's not looking good. How about this week? 4 for 25, a 174 average, no extra base hits. He's striking out at a 32% clip. That's not going to do the job. Lone home run was on opening day. So, I mean, that's probably worn off. He's probably feeling pretty bad. And, I guess it's hard to blame the manager when your star players are betting under 200, but yeah, we'll see. Anything on Paul Goldsmith? What are you doing? I guess you just hold because no one's going to be buying.
I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I think you got to hold at least for another couple of weeks, maybe. But man, you said it. The most concerning thing for me is the strikeouts because he's been a guy that has always, I mean, every major leaguer, unless you're Luis Arias, strikes out nowadays. But
yeah.
But at this level, for it to spike like this, granted it's a small sample size so far, but I'm concerned, man. I'm not ready to bail yet, but it feels like we're scooping out water because the ship's sinking right now. So yeah, man, I'm very concerned. I'll leave it at that.
Dude, you say that, I think of that Pirates of the Caribbean when he's like, he's in that first movie when he's in the ship and then he's like going to the port and he's just on the very top. Yeah, we're not there yet, but
we're getting there though.
We're scooping water out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. Can't give me the giggles this late at night, dude. That's not good. Real quick, I just want to touch on Kevin Gausman. When I wrote this outline, I originally had him. It's like I cannot decide between these two because you want to talk about back-to-back starts, giving up 6 earned runs. First to the high-powered Yankees, so you're like, okay, you can get caught by the Yankees, and then, as you put it so eloquently, the punchless Rockies. I was like, I love this. I got in my car, turned on the game on the radio, and bada bing, bada boom, getting ripped. Dude, tough. He did bounce back on Wednesday, going back up against the Yankees, 6 Ks, 1 earned run. He did walk 3. I said, hey, I'm going full send with my man Gausman because I'm a believer that if you get got by a team and you're as good as Kevin Gausman, it's not going to happen twice. And I do the reverse a lot of times with like mid-level pitchers. If they pitch really well and then see the team again in short order, I might bench that pitcher because I think at some point big leaguers will adjust. The buy low window might be gone. He's still not looking 100%. The velo is totally fine, but the location has been tough.
Yeah.
But anything on Kevin Gausman? Are you interested in trying to buy semi-low?
Man, I'm kind of I hate to like ride the fence, but man, I'm kind of still at a wait and see with him. I obviously, if you feel good about sending a buy low offer, sure, go for it if you feel okay about it. But I'm not quite there yet. The injury in spring training or whatever the shoulder was doing scares me a little bit, and the fact that he got roughed up so bad in those first few starts, I just wonder if there's still something going on there. That's just totally me, my opinion. But I'm still at kind of a wait and see, man. I mean, I get that if you wait and see and he dominates the next 2 games, like you're going to lose out on a potential buy low window. But I also don't want to give up somebody that I kind of value on my team for somebody that I legit have a question mark about. Now, if you tell me that Kevin Gausman is 1,000% healthy, man, I'm all in.
Sure.
But I'm not ready to say that he's 100% healthy still. So, again, I hate to ride the fence, but I'm still at a wait and see. I need to see another maybe 2 starts of him obviously getting the velocity and keeping it there like he did in his last start. And I need to see the command because he is normally a guy that does not walk people.
Right.
And so, like, I cannot – if he goes out there and walks 3 or 4 guys in these next starts, something's not right because he's not that pitcher. So keep an eye out for the control, even more so than maybe the velocity in this next start or two.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I mean, if he dominates, you probably miss your buy low window. It is tricky because
Yeah.
how much do you want to gamble?
Right.
I don't want to say your season, but it's a move that could really set you back. I would
Yeah.
say we talked about it a little bit last episode. If we're going to talk about him again. If you lose a Strider or any Shane Bieber, and you feel like this is a guy who can fill those cleats, go for it. I don't think there's anything
Yep.
wrong with that.
I agree.
Yeah. Hey, moving on, dude. Oh man, we're like the 40-minute mark, and we're just getting to the grill, but we'll be quick, guys.
It's okay.
Hang in. It's great. We got some fun stuff to talk about, and we had a late, I guess late submission with Will. He said, "Hey, can we do this?" I was like, "Dude, it's on the grill. What's on the grill with Will? We can talk about the rain when it falls if you want to, Will. I'm here for you, man. So just tell me about your boy Paul Skeens, because he is carving up people in AAA. How about this? In 9.1 innings, he has it's gonna make me do math. It has the innings. Hang on, no, I'm not doing that. 9.1. How about 19 Ks, dude? 18.3 Ks per nine. He is looking like he's like a high schooler, and he's going to like a T-ball league and just carving these guys up. Tell me about your excitement with this kid.
Man, my excitement level for Paul Skeens is off the charts. I said at the preview in our preview shows that this is basically Steven Strasburg coming up with the Nationals back in the day. It feels that electric to me. Here's the deal. Here's where I'm at. He needs to be in the major leagues like yesterday. He is dominating AAA. Here's my thing, man. I'm kind of over the, we need to build up his innings. We need to do this in order to control his innings. We don't want to get him hurt. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've yet to see one of these plans actually work as far as like keeping somebody from getting hurt. Like, case in point, Yuri Perez. Yeah. What did the Marlins do last year? They sent him down to the minors to limit his innings. They handled him with kids' gloves. And guess what happens this year? It doesn't even pitch an inning in the regular season because he's having Tommy John. So I get that that's not every single example out there, but nobody has made a convincing argument to me yet that handling these guys with kid gloves is working. And so my thing is the guy's dominating in AAA. Your team is tied for the lead in the NL Central right now. Mm-hmm. Do you know what kind of message that would send to those guys at the major leagues if you're like, yeah, we're promoting him. He's going to be our stud to go with Jared Jones and Mitch Keller, man. You talk about a dynamite rotation all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared Jones, nobody's talking about him. He might win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. For
so
sure.
I'm just saying all this. Like, I'm tired of these organizations, like, being so cautious with all these pitchers, and they end up getting hurt anyways. Like, bring this guy up. He belongs. Send a message to your team that we're going for this. Mm-hmm. And like, my thing is why waste innings in the minor leagues when he could be, I mean, if you're going to limit his innings, let him pitch 4 or 5 innings in the majors.
Sure.
You know, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with this guy, man. I need to see him in a Pirates uniform.
Yeah, dude, that place would be juiced up. I mean, PNC would be. You remember when they made the playoffs? They didn't win the wild card game, I don't think.
Yes.
It was against the Reds. I feel
like
it
was incredible.
It was awesome, and I feel like it would be. I mean, you keep saying it, Strasburgian levels of excitement when this guy steps on the mound for the Pirates, and it is going to be appointment viewing for sure. Hey, real quick on this, I don't know if you saw, you mentioned him though, Jared Jones, man, absolute stud. I'm calling him like Spencer Strider light because he's just got this fastball, and dude, he's looking gross. You see that they took him out. I know you have him on a couple of teams, so I'm sure you did. I've never seen anything like this. They said it was our plan to take him out after 5 innings, pitch 5 scoreless.
One of the most asinine things I've ever seen.
59 pitches. 59,
Did you see his stats though? You just mentioned he was 59 pitches. Do you know how many strikes he threw?
50, right?
He threw 50 strikes and 9 balls in only 5 innings, and they took him out.
Yeah. Here's the deal, man. I don't understand why you go by innings. Like
Right,
one
it should
inning
be
could
pitch count.
It should be pitch count.
Yes.
I've never seen that before in my life. I think it's so weird. Struck out 7, looked great, carving up
Yes.
New York, which has been a red hot team. They ended up winning the game. The Mets did because
Yeah,
Pittsburgh made a decision that's not optimal to winning, and
correct.
in an effort to save his arm, I guess. I just felt like there was so little fill there.
Mhm.
I think figuring out how to keep these young guns healthy is the moon to these people. They don't know because I mean, even Strasburg, right? And you can say he had one heck of a run.
Mhm.
He's not. He's done with baseball. Retired a couple weeks ago officially because of injury. So
Yeah.
I mean, and he had a great. I mean, what was it like 10 years? We'd have to look it up. I don't have it in
Yeah.
front of me, but I still think I don't know. I we don't know. It could be, dude. We're not even talking about this genetics, and it's
Yeah.
hard to even base it off of that because not everybody plays professional baseball. So
Yeah.
it's just a weird, like people don't know, like
Yeah.
why is it that you got guys like Max Scherzer who could stay healthy for so long, DeGrom before he started chasing
Right.
the velo. It's I don't know. We got
No,
to
but
move on. But
I'm glad you brought it up though. I hated that decision. I thought it was such
dumb.
a bad decision, and
Yeah.
like I just I hated it so much. And like you talk about a good way, this is just my opinion. You do that a couple of times throughout the season. You talk about a way to lose a team in the locker room. You do
Yes.
that a couple of times, and you cost those guys some wins when you just pull a guy out because he's reached his limit, and according to the analytics, dude, that's not cool with me.
No. No. It's it blew my mind. I blew my mind. And I mean, for fantasy, obviously, I at this point, do you look at maybe? I even hate to say this, but like, do you try and sell high on this guy because you don't? I'm facing the same thing with Garrett Crochet. I think last week I was like, I got him on every team,
Yeah.
and then you get to looking at it, and it's like, how many innings are they going to let this guy throw? Like, at what point do you try and flip him for something because
To
he's
me
never?
though, Jared Jones looks so dang good to me that I would feel like a fool if I traded him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this guy, you mentioned it. Like, I don't like to make comparisons after 4 starts, but he looks darn close to a guy like Spencer Strider. I mean, I think, is it going to take him a little bit of time to get there? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But my gosh, guys like with that electric of stuff don't come around too often, and he looks pretty incredible. And let's
Yeah.
just hope that the Pirates do the right thing.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Hey, from one shaky organizational decision to another, and probably more of a dumpster fire. Let's talk about Miami real quick, man, because the Fisher Cook dude, so bad. Off to their worst 17 game start in franchise history. They were 3-14. It's been 2 days since I wrote this. They are now 4-15, so they're 1-1 since I wrote it. So they're turning it around. Will, that's a 500 record. But talk about some weird decisions they made. They optioned their ace. Now, I say that kind of air quotes because their ace is sitting on the IL right now, along with everybody else they value to pitch this year. And that's tough, but we're going to talk about in a little bit some replacements and like what role they can play in fantasy baseball. But let's talk about they optioned their ace. One day after cruising through the best lineup in baseball, he held the Braves to 1 earned run over 6 innings pitched and struck out 7. Max Meyer, who we've heard about for years. He was sent down to AAA. He made 3 starts in 24 so far, and he's coming off a TJ that he had in 2022. So it's been a while since we've seen this kid, and he's come up, and he's been so good, man. Their best pitcher by a long shot. The Marlins brass then sent him down to AAA a day later and said he's going to throw 3 innings once a week in a minor league game with some bullpen sprinkled in between. Tough for people who traded for this kid. I mean, we would be talking about, what are we throwing at this guy, fab dollars or, like buy high for this kid. He's so good after what he did to the Braves. I mean, they were not on him at all, man. He kept him off balance, and he looked so good. Now we don't even know. Timeline is just a big old question mark. What do you got on this? Weird, huh?
It is very weird. And here's the thing, man. You see the bad organizations continue to do bad things, right? And so, um, as much as you want to see the Marlins succeed with this young group of talented players, or especially pitching, you can almost see this coming. I mean, I just referenced Yuri Perez. Look at it. This is basically exactly in a nutshell, kind of what they were doing with Yuri Perez last year.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what Yuri Perez is doing right now. He just had Tommy John and he's out for a year and a half,
Yeah.
right? And so I go back to kind of what I was just saying about Pirates. Like, show me the data, show me the cases to where putting these kid gloves and handling these guys with so much caution, show
Mm-hmm.
me where this actually works.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would actually be like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you're preserving his career or his next surgery by 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, just like what I was saying with Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, like, it feels like in this day and age, it's a matter of time before all electric pitchers are going to get hurt. So why not use him at the major league level? Like, use the bullets, so to speak, at the major league level, while
Mm-hmm.
you can.
Yeah.
And I just, again, until somebody shows me the data of limited these innings actually works, like, I hate this. Look at the message it sends to the team. Like,
Yeah.
why should the Marlins right now be motivated to go out there and win a bunch of games when they know that the organization's gonna make these type of decisions to help hinder them from actually winning? So
Yeah.
that's my
Here's
whole thing in all of this, and so
yeah.
I'm just kind of done with it.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Would it sit like pretend you're Jazz
Yeah,
Chisholm and you're on the team?
yeah,
Would it sit better with you if they built him up, brought him up in June, and said, "All right, you can have the second half of the season," unless because to me this is going to be like it's got to be so weird for Max Meyer, who literally just came off the best start of his major league career, and at that point you got to be walking off the mound unless they talk to him beforehand. You got to
right.
be walking off the mound like I belong here. I can do this.
Yes,
I mean, the dude is what is he? 22, 24 years old. I mean,
yeah,
a young pup, and I. It's got to be so weird for his confidence. Like, okay, well, we just want to protect you. Like, he's not going to be
yeah.
motivated to go down and throw 3 innings. Like, what are you
No,
doing? Put him in.
no.
I don't know. I guess the only argument you can make is if you're putting your bullpen in a tough spot, saying like, okay, now we only have to have him for 4 innings. So we're gonna need 5 out of you every time he's on the mound, and then you're putting them
Yeah,
at risk. That's the only argument I can think of. But then I'm like, okay, just build him up in the minor leagues in the first half. You're
I
right, dude.
agree.
It's you're right. We're so far from having a blueprint on how this works, and it's almost like the
Yeah,
smartphone. Like it hadn't been around long enough. We don't know
right,
what the side effects are. We don't know if we're narrowing our vision because all we look
right.
at is the screen all day, and our necks are gonna have issues, and our
Yeah,
and our great 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 grandkids are gonna be walking around like this. We don't know.
yeah.
That was real good for the audio only listeners. Go check out the YouTube. Go check out the YouTube. It's bringing the heat. Moving
Hey,
on
real
with this.
quick,
Hey,
real
yeah, go
quick
ahead.
though, I I love the point you just made. Um, what would the Rays do?
That's true.
Like
That's
what? Like if the Rays had Max Meyer, what do you think they would do? Do you? It just because I love the point you made. Like what is this teaching right now, Max Meyer? It's
mm-hmm.
like it doesn't matter if you go out and shut out the Braves. We're just gonna send you back to AAA. Like it just feels to me
Yeah.
like this organization doesn't really value winning.
Yep.
And I know as a Rays fan, that's all the Rays care about. They care
Mm-hmm.
about developing their players, cultivating their own, and winning baseball games. And I just
Yep.
feel like that the Marlins don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, that kind of it dovetails rather nicely to the next point, which is we talked about it a little bit last week. Schumacher out the door. Uh, so I guess in quote an act of good faith, Marlins ownership has decided to void Skip's last year for 2025. So I don't know why. I would have to imagine it has something to do with the same issues that severed the relationship between the former GM Kim Ng and then, of course, Derek Jeter, who was the president of baseball ops, also known for other things, Hall of Fame shortstop for the Yankees. But yeah, this is a team that might win 100, or excuse me, they're not winning 100 of anything. They might lose 120 games the way they're playing. Real quick, let's look at the fantasy side of things. Are you interested in any of these three pitchers who are now getting a shot, basically because most of their starting rotation is on the IL? Okay, this first guy, he was probably in the rotation, but he's going to be more of a 4 or 5. Edward Cabrera, 48% rostered, up 30% after making his first start of the year. Struck out 10 Giants and only allowed 1 walk, which that's always been the bugaboo with him. He walks the world. He looked pretty solid against the Giants the other day. What about Ryan Weathers in a deep league, 8% rostered? Showed some flashes of greatness from the left side in San Diego a few years ago, and he's looked good to start the season. 4 starts, a 2.70 ERA, a 1.35 WHIP, 22 Ks in 20 innings. And then lastly, Trevor Rogers, another lefty coming off injury in 23. Control has seemed off to start the year, but usually he can keep it in the zone pretty well. Looked really good before. I think it was a shoulder injury last year that put him on the shelf. Any interest in any of these three guys, deeper leagues?
I mean, these guys are talented guys. I would say that Edward Cabrera has just got electric stuff, but the problem is he's never been able to harness it. He's always had an extremely high walk rate, which is scary. It can wreck your whip, and things like that. So, I mean, for me, I would say keep an eye on these guys. If Edward Cabrera goes another start or two and walks very few, then yeah, go after him, because stuff's not the question. For the other two, they would definitely need to string together several starts. I mean, they're talented, but the problem is that they play on possibly the worst team in baseball, so you're probably not going to get very many wins out of them, even if they pitch well. And so, to answer your question, I'm not going to be rushing to the waiver wire for any of these guys. But again, if Edward Cabrera shows me improved control and it looks sustainable, he would be a guy that I would take a flyer on.
Yeah. They're all on the, what is it? Like your
watch list.
Yeah. Like, we'll keep an eye on him, see how he goes. I did pick up Cabrera in one league. And then immediately was like, will I ever feel comfortable enough to start this guy? Like, right. I don't know. It would have to be almost a perfect situation. Let's see here. Other big names going down as we transition from the fun that was roasting the Marlins. If you're a Marlins fan, I hope you enjoyed that. Probably won't talk about them much more. Sorry about it.
They feel the pain.
If you're a fan, I was going to say, if you're a fan, you understand why. Big names going down, man. A couple for Atlanta. We probably knew the writing was on the wall. Some of us were in denial. I'll raise my hand. Spencer Strider out for the year officially. He had the brace surgery. So they do that when there's a partial tear in the UCL. You can't have it if there's a full tear. But I guess they do something. They did with Tanaka, and it seemed to work for him. I think he's still throwing over there.
And it's a little bit shorter recovery time as opposed to the full thing, too.
You're exactly right. If everything goes well, he should pitch opening day 2024.
Yeah.
Unless my main man, Chris Sale, balls out. And then, just kidding. It's going to be him. Okay, Ozzie Albies, he's heading to the IL, broken toe. That stinks. Seems like another fluky injury for Ozzie. He just can't stay on the field. He has been electric. We did talk about it, though. Might be good for Michael Harris, who is now batting in the 2-hole and has looked really great this year. Ozzie started out solid, though. 317 average, 2 home runs, 14 RBIs, and a couple stolen bases. The bummer, man. I feel like he broke his hand at some point or wrist, and now he's broken his toe. So hopefully it's going to be like, 4 to 6 weeks on that, and we'll see him later next month. Then we got some outfielders going down, man. What about Christian Yelich? With a back injury, Seiya Suzuki with an oblique. Those are never fun. Tyler O'Neill with a concussion after him and Devers can't call a freaking ball. I cannot believe that ever happens at the major league level. I mean, I don't understand what's happening. And, the shortstop was out there too. I mean, it could have been all three of them. So pretty tough. He's got a concussion on the 7-day IL. And then Yu Darvish with a neck issue came out of nowhere. Hopefully he'll be back after his allotted 10 days. Anything on these on these? I know I just threw a bunch at you, but like, which stands out to you? Like, what's really hurting you on your fantasy team?
Oh man, all of these are tough. I mean, Strider's the obvious one. Obviously, if you're in a redraft league, you can drop him, because
Mm-hmm.
he's not pitching again this year. So that stinks for anybody who invested a first round pick. Man, it's hard to recover from that.
Sure.
But outside of that, man, I would say the most concerning one to me is probably Yelich. Just because these last couple of years, that back has been a problem. And if it's already kind of rearing its ugly head, man, back issues are tough.
Yeah.
Because there's literally nothing you can really do other than rest and recover on those,
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, if I'm a Yelich fan, a Brewers fan, or if he's on my fantasy team, man, I am very concerned that it's already popping up here. The Albies thing, he's going to be fine, I think, once that heals.
Yeah.
We'll see about Darvish. But man, Yelich is the one. Yelich is the one that's really got me concerned. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think it's a great call. I don't love the Tyler O'Neill one.
Yeah,
Obviously, Sox fan, and he started out just white hot
right.
to start the year, and just the way it went down, you're like, you got to be kidding me, guys. But hey, we talked about a couple outfielders. Let's talk about ways to replace them. Will on who's on fire on the wire. Okay, this is one of my favorite segments. Feel like we didn't do it as much last year as maybe we should have.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and kind of, bring this one into the fold a little bit more because it's a pretty solid one. We're going to look at outfielders today. I got 4 names. Get ready while I read some numbers. Okay, everybody hang in there. Okay, we got Jesse Winker for the new team Nationals, man. 17% rostered at 364 average, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 12 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. I didn't know he stole bases. I was very surprised to see that. Ryan O'Hearn for the Orioles has looked amazing. I think everybody's like, let's get Kirsten Hiersted. How do you say his name? Did I say it right or wrong?
Yeah, you got it. Arkansas Razorback, baby.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like Will's gonna know this guy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get him up here. Let's get the young guns. But Ryan O'Hearn's like, no, hold my beer at 32% rostered, 319 average, looking really good. 4 home runs, 6 RBIs, 11 runs, no steals, no fun. Jake Fraley, different year, feels like same results, man. 38% rostered. Reds know how to pull the trigger on this guy. When they put him in the lineup, he produces 395 average, 1 home run, 4 RBIs, 13 runs scored, 5 steals. Stu gets on base, he's running. And then Lamont Wade Jr. talking about name that guy on the Giants. It's like
Right.
who's that? How about a 378 average, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 1 steal. We love you, Lamont. We know who you are. It's just your games start too late, so I can't watch that sweet lefty swing. Okay, bud. These 4 names, who you picking to replace your outfielder you just lost?
You know what's really interesting is all of these guys are basically strong side platoon guys.
Yeah.
If any of these teams are facing a lefty, none of these guys might be starting.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit frustrating, but there are a couple of guys that I really like here. I mean, Jesse Winker's always been a solid guy. If you play him against righties, he's a guy that's proven that he's a solid hitter year after year on that. But the 2 guys on this list that really jump out to me is number 1 is Ryan O'Hearn and number 2 is Jake Fraley. I think, if you're looking for a guy who can give you a little bit of speed and stolen bases, you obviously go with Fraley. Plus, he gets to hit in Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, so that doesn't hurt matters. So I would say that if you're looking for some speed to go with average. But otherwise, I would go with Ryan O'Hearn because, man, when Baltimore, when he's in the lineup against a righty, dude, he's hitting cleanup.
Right.
Right after Rutschman and Gunnar and maybe somebody like Santander. But
he was 3 the other day because of how Santander started out so bad.
Yeah, and so you talk about a guy who, if you don't need stolen bases for whatever reason, that's the guy I'm going after, man. Because if you just take a little bit of time and see if Baltimore's about to face a righty, dude, he's about as good as you can find, especially off of waivers at this point. So, I definitely like me some Ryan O'Hearn. He can, if you use him correctly, he can be very valuable.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, doesn't take that long. Just check out the splits and look at the matchups, and it can be very prosperous for your fantasy team. Speaking of prosperous, Will, we're gonna move on here, bud.
Is it 4th of July?
You better believe it. It's April 18th, so we're close. I mean, if you go out, you buy your fireworks now, you can get them at a huge discount. Okay.
Good call.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm here for you guys. If you
Yeah.
make it, listen. If you're an hour and 5 in, you get some financial wisdom from us. I'd actually talk to Will on that. He knows what he's talking about.
Yep.
Listen, we're week 2, and I took week 1, feeling pretty good about it. Solid 1-0. We had some interesting picks. Okay. You took Christian Yelich. He played 2 games, immediately got hurt. Okay. Went on the IL. He did look great in those 2 games. A 2 for 5, 1 home run, 2 RBIs. Solid. So that's 400 batting average.
It is.
I took Rafael Devers. I don't know if you guys remember when we talked about it. I said, I don't think he's healthy. Deal with the shoulder thing. And then literally that night, I think he left the game. Shoulder was hurting him. I'm like, son of a gun. He's going to be out. He's been day to day. The Red Sox won't knock it off and put him on the IL because they don't want no one to show up to the games.
Right.
But, he did get 4 games in. He's come in and out now. He's got a knee issue. And he had an MRI on his knee. And I think he's got a bone bruise. That's what it was. I was like, what in the world does he have? Yeah. So that's not good. Oh, Rafi can't catch a break. That's a little bit of a bummer. In those 4 games, he went 2 for 12, 1 double, 2 RBIs. Joe made another submission. Aaron Judge. He wanted Aaron Judge to get going. He's up in New York, living the dream. I think he's a Mets fan, but hey, we can all get behind Aaron Judge doing big things. He went 5 for 30, 2 doubles, 1 home run, 5 RBIs. So he's still struggling.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about it, Will. We talked about this being a wash. And, we just move on to next week. We pick our guys. And then, then we're not going to count this one because the injury bug just, injury bugs. And then if Judge does anything spectacular, we probably give it to him. But
yeah,
we can't with a 5 for 30. So,
no.
Yeah. So listen, week 2, beautiful week. Not for the 3 guys that we picked. Moving on. Week 3. You want to do week 3 for 2 or you just want to do week 3 for 1? I'm good either way.
We'll do it for just 1. We'll just call week 2 just an aberration.
That's right. Yeah. This is just, we all bonded. It was fun.
Yes.
Okay, buddy. Don't leave me in suspense anymore. Who is your Roman Candle? Pick to click player of the week.
All right, here we go. So this guy's actually been off to kind of a cold start. Ooh. One of my favorite players in the league. I think he's still one of the best players in the league. I'm going Bryce Harper. Ooh. At some point, man, the law of averages have to kick in, especially with a superstar. I don't expect Bryce Harper to continue to struggle for very much longer. Yeah. And I think this week is when he starts to turn it around. So look for Bryce Harper to have a big week. Weather's going to start warming up. He's going to start heating up with that bat. And so I think Bryce Harper's in for a big week this upcoming week.
I love that call, dude. I love it. You went all-star first baseman. I didn't see your pick, but I loved it. I'm going all-star first baseman. I got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the former fantasy first rounder, trying to recapture that magic he had in 21. Okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, hasn't happened. Still pounding the ball into the ground. Off to a pretty rough start. Does have 3 bombs, but a 211 batting average, and honestly not what the Blue Jays are looking for, as they are fighting off the mighty Sox for last place. We'll see what happens. They took a series from the Yankees to kind of tighten up the division a little bit.
Yeah.
He's going to start putting it together. I saw him barrel up a couple balls. I mean, there were some CNI singles, but man, they were hit hard. So that guy, he hits the ball hard when he squares it up. But we got to see a little bit more from Slim Daddy Vladdy. Will, anything on, did we just knock this out? That's crazy. We're at an hour and 10. How you feeling right now?
Man, I feel good. Dude, this was a jam-packed episode, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, here's what I would say. We've talked about it still being early. We're 20 games in. We're about 3 weeks in if you're playing fantasy. Mm-hmm. I would say now is not quite the time to panic yet.
Yeah.
But we can't keep saying it's early for very much longer. And so I would just say this. Keep an eye on the players that you're worried about. See if they're starting to show some signs of turning things around, whether they're a pitcher, a hitter, or whatever. But
Yeah.
keep your eyes on those guys. And here's the thing. We're a couple of weeks away from it being serious panic time.
Sure.
And so, I would advise against dropping anybody that you invested a premium pick in. Like, don't do that yet. Now's not quite the time. But now is the time to evaluate, like, who's off to a good start, who's off to a tough start, and then figure out kind of where we navigate from here. And so we're in about a 2-week stretch to where it's kind of an evaluation period. And then it's time to start asking yourself some serious questions, especially if you play fantasy baseball. So, again, don't make any crazy rush to judgment drops, but we're almost to the point to where we can't say it's early anymore.
That's true. Yeah, I really start looking at, I would say, anywhere from week 6 to week 8. And depending on why I feel like they're playing bad. And obviously there's some guys that I'm always just going to give the benefit of the doubt. Like, got Julio on a couple teams. It's like, listen, I mean,
he'll be fine.
He's going to be okay. But we're talking more middle tier picks 20 to 100. Okay. And I've seen them dropped. People drop Blake Snell in the league. So I'm anxiously awaiting a waiver claim to see if I landed him on my team. And I'll glue him to the bench till July. I don't care.
Right.
But it's like, listen, you got to, at some point, you got to trust these guys on some level are going to play to the back of their baseball card. And you're right, man. But it's the same way, like, you can't sell out and go after all the Jesse Winkers and
right.
Jose Cabaneros and all these guys who start out hot. Like, yeah, you'll win week 1 and week 2, but there's a reason why they weren't drafted. There's a reason why they were on the wire. And so I'm not saying, just sink down with the ship. There's some people on there. We talked about the painting last week. If you got little holes in your ship, there's guys you can pick up to patch the ship. We go to the painting. Now we're talking about this ship. I can't decide what we're going to do next week with our analogies. Right. But but as we get a bit, we'll dust out the panic meter for players, and we'll try and help you navigate. If you guys have any questions about anybody, leave us down in the YouTube comments or Spotify, Apple Music, or podcast. You can leave comments there. You got questions? You want our 2 cents on them? We'll give them to you guys. It's not a lot of money, and we can save up, and we'll give you those 2 cents. They belong to you now, right? And you do what you want with them. Man, Will, this is awesome. Guys, reach out to us on Twitter at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. Let us know how week 3's going. And man, fantasy baseball, slow down. We're just happy to have you back. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 77 of Bringing the Heat.